Bengkulu, provinsi dengan sejuta potensi di barat Sumatera. Provinsi dengan ragam pesona tengah berkembang dengan pesatnya. Di era baru ini, perkembangan suatu daerah Bengkulu, provinsi dengan sejuta potensi di barat Sumatera, provinsi dengan ragam pesona tengah berkembang dengan pesatnya. Di era baru ini, perkembangan suatu daerah harus ditunjang dengan sumber daya yang memadai. Sumber daya alam Bengkulu yang melimpah harus diimbangi dengan sumber daya manusia yang berdaya saing. Program Doktor Ekonomi Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Bengkulu adalah salah satu pelopor program doktor di Bengkulu yang fokus mencetak sumber daya manusia berkualitas dan berintegritas tinggi. Sejak tahun 2015, program Doktor Ekonomi berkomitmen kuat untuk berperan aktif dalam pembangunan daerah, ikut serta dalam pemecahan masalah baik yang dihadapi oleh pemerintah, pebisnis, maupun masyarakat umum. Program Doktor by Research ini berorientasi pada riset, sehingga akan fokus pada masalah real yang terjadi di lapangan. Hasil penelitian dan disertasi dikomunikasikan kepada khalayak melalui berbagai macam kegiatan, agar informasi yang ada tersebar hingga sendi-sendi ekonomi masyarakat. Hal ini sebagai bukti nyata peran aktif program Doktor Ekonomi dalam hal pemecahan masalah dan sebagai media konsultasi bagi para stakeholder. Untuk menunjang program ini, S3 Ekonomi dibekali dengan fasilitas yang memadai, sehingga mahasiswa mendapatkan pendidikan yang berkualitas. Apalagi mahasiswa yang ada datang dari berbagai latar belakang yang berbeda-beda.
Dosen-dosen kita merupakan tenaga profesional di bidangnya. Kami menerapkan kurikulum program Doktor Ekonomi yang terbagi atas pertemuan kelas dan pertemuan bukan kelas.
Tenaga pengajar yang profesional di bidangnya menjadikan program Doktor Ekonomi semakin unggul.
Program Doktor Ekonomi saat ini memiliki 34 mahasiswa aktif berasal dari berbagai latar belakang dan profesi. Dan saat ini ada 5 mahasiswa telah siap melaksanakan ujian terbuka. Program ini didukung oleh tenaga pengajar profesional lulusan dari universitas ternama baik di dalam maupun luar negeri.
Tenaga pengajar yang ahli ini merupakan lulusan dari berbagai universitas ternama baik dalam negeri maupun luar negeri, seperti University of Tennessee USA, Monash University Australia, Central Luzon State University Philippines, Southern Cross University Australia, Universitas Brawijaya, dan berbagai universitas ternama lainnya.
Program Doktor Ekonomi merupakan salah satu pelopor program S3 di Provinsi Bengkulu dan program Doktor by Research pertama di Sumatera. Untuk mendukung terwujudnya visi tahun 2025, kami memberi support penuh baik dari sisi fasilitas, kerjasama nasional dan internasional, suasana akademis yang mendukung, hingga penjaminan mutu berkelanjutan.
Untuk meningkatkan kualitas, program Doktor Ekonomi Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Bengkulu juga menjalin kerjasama baik dengan pemerintah, institusi dalam negeri, dan luar negeri. Pengelolaan sumber daya yang melimpah haruslah relevan dengan sumber daya manusia yang siap bersaing. Program Doktor Ekonomi Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Bengkulu hadir untuk menjawab semua tantangan yang ada. Bengkulu, provinsi dengan sejuta potensi di barat Sumatera. Provinsi dengan ragam pesona tengah berkembang dengan pesatnya. Di era baru ini, perkembangan suatu daerah harus ditunjang dengan sumber daya yang memadai. Sumber daya alam Bengkulu yang melimpah harus diimbangi dengan sumber daya manusia yang berdaya saing. Program Doktor Ekonomi Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Bengkulu adalah salah satu pelopor program doktor di Bengkulu yang fokus mencetak sumber daya manusia berkualitas dan berintegritas tinggi. Sejak tahun 2015, program Doktor Ekonomi berkomitmen kuat untuk berperan aktif dalam pembangunan daerah, ikut serta dalam pemecahan masalah baik yang dihadapi oleh pemerintah, pebisnis, maupun masyarakat umum. Program Doktor by Research ini berorientasi pada riset, sehingga akan fokus pada masalah real yang terjadi di lapangan. Hasil penelitian dan disertasi dikomunikasikan kepada khalayak melalui berbagai macam kegiatan, agar informasi yang ada tersebar hingga sendi-sendi ekonomi masyarakat. Hal ini sebagai bukti nyata peran aktif program Doktor Ekonomi dalam hal pemecahan masalah dan sebagai media konsultasi bagi para stakeholder. Menunjang program ini, S3 Ekonomi dibekali dengan fasilitas yang memadai, sehingga mahasiswa mendapatkan pendidikan yang berkualitas. Apalagi mahasiswa yang ada datang dari berbagai latar belakang yang berbeda-beda.
Dosen-dosen kita merupakan tenaga profesional di bidangnya. Kami menerapkan kurikulum program Doktor Ekonomi yang terbagi atas pertemuan kelas dan pertemuan bukan kelas.
Tenaga pengajar yang profesional di bidangnya menjadikan program Doktor Ekonomi semakin unggul.
Program Doktor Ekonomi saat ini memiliki 34 mahasiswa aktif berasal dari berbagai latar belakang dan profesi. Dan saat ini ada 5 mahasiswa telah siap melaksanakan ujian terbuka. Program ini didukung oleh tenaga pengajar profesional lulusan dari universitas ternama baik di dalam maupun luar negeri.
Tenaga pengajar yang ahli ini merupakan lulusan dari berbagai universitas ternama baik dalam negeri maupun luar negeri seperti University of Tennessee USA, Monash University Australia, Central Luzon State University Philippines, Southern Cross University Australia, Universitas Brawijaya, dan berbagai universitas ternama lainnya.
Program Doktor Ekonomi merupakan salah satu pelopor program S3 di Provinsi Bengkulu dan program Doktor by Research pertama di Sumatera. Untuk mendukung terwujudnya visi tahun 2025, kami memberi support penuh baik dari sisi fasilitas, kerjasama nasional dan internasional, suasana akademis yang mendukung, hingga penjaminan mutu berkelanjutan.
Untuk meningkatkan kualitas, program Doktor Ekonomi, Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Bengkulu juga menjalin kerjasama baik dengan pemerintah, institusi dalam negeri, dan luar negeri. Pengelolaan sumber daya yang melimpah haruslah relevan dengan sumber daya manusia yang siap bersaing. Program Doktor Ekonomi, Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Bengkulu hadir untuk menjawab semua tantangan yang ada.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to be MC for this international dialogue. I'm Bella Aflaza. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to our guest speaker, Professor Alex Marit and Dr. Muhammad Abdu. Good morning, Dr. Abdu, and good afternoon, Professor Alex. The charismatic Dean, Dr. Retno Agustina Eka Putri, who is with us today, and beautiful lady, Dr. Yefriza, as our moderator in this event. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. National Anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand up. Dr. Retno Agustina Eka Putri, the Dean of Faculty of Economic and Business, University of Bengkulu, to deliver opening remarks, at once officially open this international dialogue.
Good morning, all students, ladies and gentlemen, participants of the International Dialogue EA-CEPA 2020. It's give me a great pleasure to extend to you all a very warm welcome on behalf of the Faculty of Economic and Business, the University of Bengkulu, Indonesia. And to sincerely thanks Professor Alex Maritz, Trobe, who have accepted our invitation as a guest speaker in this dialogue, or is called like a semi-seminar on the topic of Indonesia-Australia Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, IA-CEPA, and opportunities for the SME. Thanks, Pak Abdul, for facilitating the arrangement for this event. As you already aware, international trade is an issue that is critical for economic development. International trade plays a vital role in the economic development since it provides employment, contribute to the transfer of technology, and is an important source of foreign exchange needed for import of capital and intermediate goods. Central Bureau of Statistics, as of October 2020, data on January to October 2020, released data on Indonesian trade, non-oil and gas, which show 5 major countries of Indonesia export destination, which are 1, Tiongkok, around $23.3 billion. The second is USA. The third is Japan. The fourth is India. And the fifth is Singapore. And the major import are from Tiongkok, is around $31.02 billion. And then Japan, Singapore, USA, and Thailand. Whereas the data for Bengkulu province export destination to major, one is India, second Malaysia, third is Philippines, fourth is USA, and the fifth is Turkey. The major import from Singapore, Malaysia, Tiongkok, Thailand, and South Korea. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm citing the information from the Indonesian Ministry of Foreign Affairs on the 2020. The DPR RI, or is the Indonesian House of Representatives, plenary meeting on January 6, 2020, has become a milestone for bilateral relationship between Indonesia and Australia. It has ratified the Comprehensive Partnership Agreement in the economic field between Indonesia, Australia. Indonesia-Australia Economic Partnership Agreement, EA-CEPA. The Australian Parliament ratified the agreement at the end of last year, November 26, 2019. IA-CEPA opened opportunities for Indonesia and Australia as economic powerhouses to take the advantage of each other's strength to increase contribution to the global value chains. It hoped that the EA-CEPA can encourage increased export of various Indonesian products to Australia, including automobile, electricity, and hybrid, wood and its derivative, textile product, rubber product, communication, equipment, and etc. And to encourage the development of the creative industry sector and e-commerce. Not only in the trade sector, the EA-CEPA has room for increased investment flows for the two countries. Indonesia hopes to become the top 10 destination for countries for Australia investment. Currently, Indonesia is the 12th destination country for Australian investment. It is hoped that EA-CEPA can facilitate Australian investors to invest in Indonesia in various sectors, including infrastructure, energy, tourism, development, food processing, and development in the e-commerce sector.
in line with the President of Indonesia vision to improve human resources through developing vocational education as well as the higher education sector. Indonesia is committed to opening up more access to Australian investment in the education sector. Indonesia hopes Australia can invest more in the VET and higher education sector. IACEPA also regulates cooperation between the two countries in the field of exchanging skill and professional personnel in several fields such as in finance, insurance, mining, and information and communication technology industry. Ladies and gentlemen, all dialogue participants, it is an opportunity time to be able to have an international dialogue from the expert in the field, Prof. Alec Moritz and Pak Abdo, which hopefully open up the possibility to have future cooperation between the two countries, especially between Faculty of Economic and Business, the University of Bengkulu, and the Trobe University. Possible cooperation will be discussed such as in the teaching class on entrepreneurship, research, and other collaboration. Basically, the main purpose of this dialogue or seminar is to exchange ideas, and participating in the exchange will be, on the hand, increase in understanding. As a result, it is hoped will be to the benefit of those represented here, which are involved in the dialogue. The best wishes for a productive and successful dialogue. Last but not least, I thank to the committee chaired by the Head Department of Economic Development, FEB or Faculty Economic and Business, University of Bengkulu, Ibu Dr. Armeli, and the Head of Technical Team, Ibu Dr. Lela Rosmida, all committee members, our young and very energetic lecturer, Ms. Barika, Ms. Ratu Eva, Ms. Novi Triputri, Ms. Septriani, and last but not least, Ms. Esti Pasaribu. Collaboration of this event is possible from the undergraduate, master, and doctorate in economy, Faculty of Economic and Business, University of Bengkulu. I very glad to officially open the dialogue agenda and the seminar. Lastly, I would like to say stay positive, stay safe, and stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you to Dr. Retno Agustina Eka Putri for that very energetic opening message. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning once again to everyone, and welcome to International Dialogue by Team Indonesia-Australia Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement and Opportunities for SME Product. Our event for today hopefully give us many useful insight about the agreement and its opportunity follow. Let's look at the explanation on this topic from speakers who are competent in this field. For our main session will be guided by Dr. Yefriza and Dr. Retno. To Dr. Yefriza and Dr. Retno, time is yours.
Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's dialogue. It is my pleasure to be a moderator for this session. And I'm not alone, I'm accompanied by Dr. Retno Agustina Eka Putri. Good morning, Bu Retno, how are you?
Good morning. Very well, thank you.
Yeah, this event is organized by the Department of Development Economics, Faculty of Economics and Business, the University of Bengkulu. And this is part of the department's annual event for international dialogue on economic and development issues. Yeah. So hopefully next year we will organize this kind of dialogue again. Our topic today is Indonesia-Australia Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement and opportunities for SME, small medium enterprise products. So just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, just type the question on chat box of the Zoom control panel, and then our team will select the questions and I will bring them up after the presentation. And we will also have time for questions at the end of the presentation. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce today's speakers. We have two speakers. First, Professor Alex Meritz from La Trobe University, Australia. He is a professor of entrepreneurship, management, sports, and tourism of La Trobe Business School. And Professor Meritz is the vice president of the International Association of Organizational Innovation, USA. And current and previous visiting professor appointments include Shalan University, Germany, Chengdu University, Taiwan, Huazhou University, China, and RMIT, Vietnam. Professor Meritz have achieved a lot of important things during his career, but only mention a few of them. And for the details, you can look at from the CV that will share by the committee after this. Another speaker is Dr. Muhammad Abdul. He is an associate professor of economics and entrepreneurship at the Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Bengkulu, Indonesia. He was a visiting research fellow at Australian Graduate School of Entrepreneurship, Faculty of Economics and Business, Swinburne University, Melbourne, Australia, 2011-2012. And Dr. Abdul also have done many things during his career. Same as Professor Alex, I only mentioned a few of them. And good morning to you, gentlemen. It's Indonesian time, it's morning now. Good morning, Professor Meritz and Dr. Abdul. I believe that it's afternoon in Australia now. You can hear me now? Okay, yeah, it's nice to meet you. Professor Meritz and Dr. Abdul join us from Australia, from Melbourne, Australia. Is far away from here, but thanks to the technology, we can have them together here. Before we start, I will explain it to our speakers. Professor Meritz will give the presentation first, and after that followed by Dr. Abdul. Each speaker have 20 minutes time for presentation, and after that we'll continue with question and answer. As I mentioned before, if participants have a question, feel free to type the question on chat box of the Zoom control panel, and we will bring them up after the presentation. Okay, now we can go to turn to Professor Meritz. You can start your presentation. It's time for you.
be with you. There we go. Should be happening. It's not coming up.
Okay, Pak Abdu, if you have a problem to share the share screen. Oh, Professor Maritz, if you have problem with share screen, maybe we can help you from here.
Share screen, but I don't know if I've got the rights to share it. Yeah. Okay, I'm just. Does it come up here? Share screen. And get somebody to help me this side to load it. Is that okay? Yep. I'll be with you in 1 second. I just want to get somebody to try load it up for me this side. Abdu, can I just make sure that I've got co-hosting rights?
Oh, okay. Let me. Seno, possibly Seno could help.
Okay, Professor Maritz, the operator already help you with the share screen. They already have your presentation on the screen. Can we help you?
Oh, have you got it on there? Oh, that's fantastic. There, they've got it on. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Good thing. Thank you. So there we go. Oh, that's much better. Is everybody there?
But we couldn't see it on the screen yet.
It's
Everyone's
on
screen,
the
possibly on the
process now.
screen in
Just a
the
moment.
main room.
Let's just go there. Let me just. Okay, is it on? Yeah, there we go. So let me just go back to there and let me just make sure that I'm start my video. Oh, there we go. And from start. Is that okay? Can everybody's Abdu, can you see me and can you see the presentation and hear me?
I can see you, I can hear you, but I couldn't see the presentation in the big screen yet.
You can't see it?
Yeah, but we have two screens in here. Let's see.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. It's
Yeah,
already on the
there
screen.
The presentation is there.
Yeah, it's already on the screen.
I can see you if you know that there is the three dots button on the each of our.
So yeah, so they can follow the presentation.
Yep.
Over there. Okay, let me. Let me start from there then. Okay. Again, Salamat pagi, everybody. Greetings from Melbourne, Australia. We're experiencing a yes. Can you hear me, Abdul?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
I can hear you.
Thank you. And so we have.
Wait a second, Alex. I would like to ask whether the others can hear you.
Yes.
Ibu Yepi, can you hear Prof. Maritz?
Yes, we can hear Professor Maritz very clear.
Ibu Ameli or Ibu,
very clear. Yeah.
Ibu Ratu Eva or Barita, whether.
Yeah.
I was wondering whether they can hear you.
Yes.
We can hear
Ibu Ratu
Professor
Eva,
Maritz
can you
very
hear
clear,
Alex?
Pak Abdul.
And see his screen?
Yes, we can see the screen very clear.
No, possibly he sees.
Can you see the screen, Pak Abdul?
And I couldn't hear Ibu Yepi.
No, I'm not muted. No. I'm off mute and my video is on. Yeah. So should I continue? I think you're on mute. Abdul, I think you're on mute.
From the chat, I can see that the message from Ibu Ratu Eva. I see your slide and I can hear your voice, Prof. Alex.
Yeah. Okay. So let me go then. Let's go then. Okay. So again, Salamat pagi. Hello everybody. Coming in from Melbourne. I don't know why the slide doesn't want to go now. I just want to go to the slide before that. There we go. Okay, so we'll just. So we're undergoing a slight heat wave here in Melbourne, in Australia. It's been over 30 degrees for 2 days in a row, which is quite remarkable for us. So we're basking in the sun at the moment. So welcome to this Indonesia-Australia Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. And I just want to say thank you to Dr. Dean, Dr. Deretno, and also to Dr. Abdu for hosting me and saying hello to you. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to discuss this entire IACEPA, which is the Indonesia-Australian Economic Partnership Agreement. I'm going to discuss it from a perspective of entrepreneurship, about small to medium enterprises. And one of the things that was mentioned a little bit earlier on was the commercialization of innovation. And we often refer to this as entrepreneurship. And I'm hoping that we have a few scholars and we have a few members in the audience that understand entrepreneurship, possibly teach entrepreneurship. So we're going to discuss a few things about entrepreneurship. After I'm done, I am going to integrate a bit of the Indonesia-Australia partnership agreement. And then Dr. Abdul is actually going to discuss a case study and integrate some real-life experiences regarding this partnership agreement between Australia and New Zealand. So let me start off. How do I scroll down here now? Oh, there we go. Is it going down? There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the future trajectories of entrepreneurship. I'm going to discuss a few things about entrepreneurship education that's from a global perspective. And the important thing is how we actually integrate this in an Australian context, and then more importantly, from an Indonesian context. I'm going to apply a few snippets as an overview from what we call the Global Consortium of Entrepreneurship Centers. This is the largest consortium of entrepreneurship centers, and it's all about the way we teach, research, engage, and collaborate in entrepreneurship. And many of you probably know, entrepreneurship is in essence all about acceleration and high growth businesses. So we're actually looking at, with this Indonesia-Australia partnership agreement, how we can really accelerate this development and accelerate business activities. And there's no one better that can do that than our entrepreneurs. Just an old saying from Albert Einstein: you can't solve a problem on the same level that it was created. You have to rise above it to the next level. And in essence, what that means is you can't expect to do different things if you do the same old thing the whole time. So entrepreneurs are about proactivity, innovation, and risk-taking. It's about creating businesses and doing things differently. And that's what I mean by you have to rise above it to the next level. And we talk a lot about that, about exploiting opportunities. We're going to look at the trajectory of entrepreneurship to see where it started, that it started from nowhere. Until a year or two ago, entrepreneurship was the fastest growing discipline in academia on a global stage. We're going to look at some challenges, where to from here, what more can entrepreneurship do? We're going to look at this from a basis of 7 different trajectories, plus I've added another one in as well. We're going to look at entrepreneurship in Australia, but more so entrepreneurship education and the importance and where entrepreneurship education sits within an Australian context. We're going to possibly look at it where entrepreneurship education sits at your university and what is done in entrepreneurship there. And there's a lot of opportunities there for collaboration that I invite people. You're most welcome to email me as well on some possible collaboration we can do. Dr. Abdul and I have been collaborating for some time now. We met, Abdul, what was it? Must have been about 10 years ago at the AGSE when you visited, and I was still the director of the Australian Graduate School of Entrepreneurship Research Exchange. Many, many years ago. It's when Abdul and I were still young men. Eh? I think we're a little bit older now. We're going to look a little bit at the IACPA and see what does that actually mean for our countries. And then we're going to have a wrap-up and discussion. And as was said, if you have any questions as we go along, please enter them in the chat, and then we can look at it from there. So just before we kick off, and let's just look at some very, very basic things with this Indonesia-Australia Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. Well, what is it actually about? In essence, it's about Australia and Indonesia as trading partners. It's the importing and exporting of goods and services between our countries. And that is where entrepreneurs come up. Remember, entrepreneurship is not only about running a small business. entrepreneurship is about globalization. How can we do business between our countries to the mutual benefit of everybody? When I say everybody, not only to the gross domestic product of Australia or the GDP of Indonesia, but to individual entrepreneurs. And what are those goods and services we talk about? I'll give you an example of some of the goods and services that entrepreneurs currently participate in to really make this agreement work. If we look at goods, we look at cattle, we look at sugar, dairy, citrus, fruit, and vegetables, just to name some of the goods. Services are huge. It's a very, very big commodity between our countries. We look at things such as transportation. We look at university education and training. Very, very important thing, because that's what the rest of my discussion is about. Mining services. I'm not looking at iron ore and coal, but I'm actually looking at the services that are related to the mining industry. We look at health, aged care. Very important thing in aged care. We've got a global aging population of people that are over 45, 50 years old. And this dominant force is very important for a thing we often call senior entrepreneurship, where people aged 50 plus participate in entrepreneurial activity. Tourism is huge. We all know how many Australians come through to Indonesia on their annual holiday. It's a huge business. We could call that an export business, because that is where Australians bring money into the Indonesian economy, and how many jobs that creates. Remember, entrepreneurship is not about working for someone, but creating new jobs. The construction industry, we look at television, we look at energy, and the telecommunications industry as some of the services that we participate there. If we look a little bit more and onto the next slide, and we go on to, I don't know, can we just go down one slide there? Thank you. We look at the trajectory, and we then look, just before I go on to one of these trajectories, I just want to go on to the Indonesia and Australia Comprehensive Economic Agreement, and just a very brief thing of what it's about. And Dr. Abdu is going to mention more of this in his presentation. It's two-way trade. There was a figure given earlier on, but this two-way trade between Australia and Indonesia is currently worth about $17.8 billion. It's huge, huge business between our two countries. It's a bilateral agreement, and very much what Dean Retno just mentioned earlier on. It's a pretty new agreement that was originally ratified in March 2019, and it was only confirmed last year. So it's still something new that's going on. So there's a lot of opportunity for joint collaboration, joint research, and Abdu and I have agreed to really get that going. It's about a free trade agreement, the removal of tariffs. It's about investment, e-commerce, and very importantly for entrepreneurship, it's about intellectual property protection, IP protection. So that's, for example, if an entrepreneur in Indonesia develops a new commodity or service, they could then have those intellectual property rights enforced if they export to Australia, for example. Specific entrepreneurial initiatives that are doing very well with this trade agreement at the moment is agri-foods, and it's known as the Agri-Food Innovation Partnership. Powering advanced manufacturing. So we're looking at not big business, but advanced manufacturing. We also look at co-investing in skills and training. Now that's very important. And you'll also see that, for example, Australia's biggest university, which is Monash University, have opened a campus. And Abdu, I know you're going to talk about that in your presentation as well. But that's an example of exports and imports in investing in skills and training. and entrepreneurship forms a very huge part of that. So what we're going to look at now is the slide that's on your screen right now, and that's where we look at the first trajectory. Why do we teach entrepreneurship? So for any of those that have undertaken an entrepreneurship course before, for the students in the audience, and also then for the scholars and the other faculty members, well, there are many reasons we teach entrepreneurship to people. And the main thing of doing that is that entrepreneurship creates value through unique resource combinations. So we do lectures and we do that type of thing. And we see, well, why is that just important? We catalyze on opportunities, because entrepreneurship is about exploiting opportunities. We teach students how to exploit those opportunities, and they do things such as opportunity recognition and opportunity evaluation. We also provide the principles and tools necessary to start a successful business. So what is it to have that entrepreneurial mindset? So the second trajectory we get to is what is taught in entrepreneurship. What's the content of entrepreneurship education? What is it we are teaching people? Well, some of those things are entrepreneurial orientation. We teach people the entrepreneurial process. So ladies and gentlemen, when I say entrepreneurship as a process, I mean a start and a finish. So the start of entrepreneurship isn't only launching the business, but all the things you'll do to planning that business before you launch it. And the other end of the spectrum of the entrepreneurial process is what we refer to in entrepreneurship as the harvest, or that is an exit strategy. Once an entrepreneur has built that business, it's very often that they sell that business to someone who can exploit it even further, so that entrepreneur can get on with other things. We look at different, don't forget entrepreneurship when we say what is taught. There's a very important aspect to entrepreneurship, and this has to do with what we term social entrepreneurship. It's for the betterment of humankind or for the betterment of communities. So entrepreneurship is about value creation. It is not always about wealth maximization. That is a myth. A myth is something that sounds right, but it isn't the truth. Social entrepreneurship is a dominant force globally, ladies and gentlemen. We look at economic outcomes. The other things we look at from cross-disciplinary, we often say entrepreneurship is a multidisciplinary subject, in that we teach marketing, we teach finance, we teach strategy, we teach intellectual property. Some of the more recent things that we teach in entrepreneurship, some of you may know this terminology, is the lean startup, innovation, creativity, business model design for high growth businesses. So that's just some of the stuff that answers the question, what is taught in entrepreneurship? If we can just go on to the next slide, please, onto trajectory number 3. Okay, thank you. So how entrepreneurship is taught? Well, this is the golden goose of entrepreneurship. I'm sure many of you have heard of the term experiential learning. Another word for experiential learning is learning by doing. We often say entrepreneurs have to learn on the job. It's a very practice-based discipline, and it's not about writing exams. It's about launching new businesses. Yes, we do use things such as lectures, flipped or blended technologies, online. There's been a massive increase in incubators and accelerators globally as well. And very importantly, we've seen a distinct paradigm shift in the way entrepreneurship is taught due to the current COVID-19 situation, which we're experiencing at the moment. And we've seen how a lot of classroom delivery has gone to technology platforms such as Zoom. Zoom is only one of them. I personally use Zoom a lot for my classes as well. And we do a lot of this experiential learning via Zoom. So if we can just go on to the next trajectory, please, and that is organizing for entrepreneurship. So the next slide, please. Thank you very much. So organizing for entrepreneurship means, where do we teach entrepreneurship? What faculty does entrepreneurship belong? Is it a campus-wide or a university-wide thing, or is it for the ownership of the business school? Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's no one quick fix here. In my instance at the Trobe University, entrepreneurship is mainly taught in the business school, but we also have entrepreneurship in our engineering school. We have entrepreneurship in health sciences, which is taught in our health sciences degrees. We even have a Master of Entrepreneurship and Law, which is quite a distinct difference there. But so what I'm getting at is entrepreneurship is multidisciplinary, and it can be taught throughout the organization. And as I said, in our case, it's predominantly 85% of the entrepreneurship courses are taught in the business school. An interesting thing I'll just say there, the wrong people teaching entrepreneurship, and it's a question I pose to people. What we as, I'm a professor in entrepreneurship, but what we as entrepreneurship professors or entrepreneurship experts or specialists see, we often see many scholars teaching entrepreneurship that aren't appropriately qualified to teach it. And that's because it's a relatively new field of study. A lot of people haven't really had the knowledge and skills to become experts in it, and that is what I refer to. Often we do have the wrong people on teaching entrepreneurship. Remember, I mentioned it's experiential, therefore the whole way we teach entrepreneurship requires a significant or distinct way of teaching, and you need that skill and knowledge. Abdul, if we can please go on to trajectory number 5, the next slide, please, and just go one slide up. Thank you very much. And that's trajectory number 5. Well, we've mentioned some of the things. What do we teach? How do we teach it? Where it is taught. The other one is, well, if we're teaching students all these things, what are the outcomes we are actually looking for? And believe it or not, I know in a university setting, the outcome could be passing an exam or passing an assignment or passing a module or a subject. From my professorial background, that's not what I look for by teaching students entrepreneurship. I like the outcome to be that they're able to start their own businesses. We often refer to a thing called entrepreneurial self-efficacy. Lots of people know it as ESE. It's part of cognition. It's how comfortable and how knowledgeable people are about starting a new venture or starting a new business. Another thing we teach in usually undergraduate entrepreneurship is a thing called entrepreneurial intentionality, EI. And that's one of my colleagues in America that came up with Professor Norris Kruger, about the intentions of people, saying, when I finish or graduate, would I like to become an entrepreneur and create employment, or would I rather become an employee of a larger company and therefore work for somebody else? And that's what we refer to entrepreneurial intentionality, the intentions of people, what they wish to do. So those two main terms for outcomes are efficacy and intentionality. Another thing that we often teach students when we're looking at intentionality is a thing called entrepreneurial orientation. What are those psychological, or should I rather say, those traits or characteristics successful entrepreneurs have? We talk about entrepreneurial orientation. For example, entrepreneurs are proactive. They are innovative. They take calculated risks. They don't take any risks, And we teach people in our courses how they can minimize those risks. And we look at that from entrepreneurs who can be an individual person or entrepreneurs in corporate companies. We often refer to that as corporate entrepreneurship. And we refer to those people that work in these corporates or bigger companies, that they have spin-outs and entrepreneurial initiatives within those corporates. Now, you might all wonder, you can all see that picture on the left-hand side that I've got there, where it's got a heading there called Reverb. Can you all see that with a guitar and some amplifiers and everything? Do you all see that? And you see a gentleman standing there, that's not me, with a hat on? Anyway, this was a photo from a conference at the, and I mentioned this before, the Global Consortium of Entrepreneurship Centers. And this was a photo I actually took. I was in the audience and took a photo of this chap. His name is David Colt. And he runs a business called Reverb. And Reverb, you can go and look at it on Google or on the websites, Reverb is the largest seller of second-hand music instruments in the world. So pretty interesting. Yeah, and Reverb have their head office in a lovely, lovely city called Chicago in the US. And his regional offices, the other office is in the Netherlands. And it just so happens that the reason he chose the Netherlands was a competitive advantage there. And that is also one of the headquarters of Sony Music Corporation. I'm sure you've all heard of Sony Music. And his headquarters for the Southeast Asia and Asian countries and Pacific regions is actually in my hometown, and that's in Melbourne. So pretty interesting. Have a look at how that entrepreneur has set up his entrepreneurial ventures and so on. Very interesting case, or interesting case. If you can go to the next slide, please. We're looking at trajectory number 6. And here's an important thing. This talks about academic entrepreneurs. Well, what are academic entrepreneurs? Academic entrepreneurs are us people in academia doing entrepreneurial things, or having that entrepreneurial orientation, and very much what the Dean mentioned earlier on, that commercialization of innovation. And what entrepreneurs within an academic environment can be to be entrepreneurial. You might have heard of a thing called the Entrepreneurial University, and that is where universities embrace an entrepreneurial orientation, and things they do outward to their communities and their engagement activities are based on entrepreneurial foundations. So a pretty interesting one there. And there's a lot of literature and discussions going on about the Entrepreneurial University. If we can go on to the next slide, please. And that is trajectory number 7. And that is about research in entrepreneurship. Well, we all know, my scholars out there, the importance of research. I see this thing about practice-based versus pure research. Because of the experiential nature of entrepreneurship, a lot of what we do is based on practice-based things. So we have this saying, and Abdu, you might remember it from the AGSE. We always said this: theory for practice sake. So we do things to theorize, to come up with new research in entrepreneurship, but it must be relevant to practice. It must be relevant to things entrepreneurs can do, things entrepreneurs can implement to be more entrepreneurial, and, ladies and gentlemen, to be more successful as well. Some of the emerging themes I've listed, I'm not going to go through all of them there, and I'm very happy for this slideshow for everybody to have a copy of this. So that's no, you don't have to take notes or anything. But some of the emerging themes that a lot of research and a lot of PhDs, for that matter, are being done on startups action and the process of entrepreneurship, different types of entrepreneurial behavior. A lot of people think that entrepreneurial behavior and entrepreneur is only a young person's game for developing apps and technologies and that kind of thing. But look at some entrepreneurs that are aged 50 plus. The most famous one of them all is KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Colonel Sanders. Just how old is he? And we call him a senior entrepreneur. A lot of research is going around entrepreneurship ecosystems. So we're saying entrepreneurship is not about being in a silo. Exactly what we are doing right now. We are collaborating and networking, and in that entrepreneurship ecosystem. So it's not only entrepreneurship education, but it's all those players in the ecosystem, community, economic development, and so on. And this is exactly where the Indonesia-Australia Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement comes into it. It's part of this entrepreneurship ecosystem between Indonesia and Australia. Knowledge and knowledge spillover, very important. How dissemination of knowledge as well, how we share information and share success stories. Dr. Abdu, in a couple of minutes, is going to give us a case study of where such knowledge was actually shared to make successful startups. We look at bricolage, different types of building, different theoretical principles on entrepreneurship. Multidisciplinary, that's where we look at finance and entrepreneurship. Marketing, entrepreneurial finance, startup finance. Big data is another one that's coming in, that's very under the microscope right now. Another very big discipline that's integrating significantly with entrepreneurship is data analytics. And data analytics is becoming very, very big in Australia. I'm not sure if data analytics is also growing at exponential rates in Indonesia as well. We have special types of entrepreneurship. Minority entrepreneurship, for example, indigenous entrepreneurship, gender, male and female. And I just wanted to mention something there. I forgot to mention it earlier on. When we look at the entrepreneurship rates, why Australia and Indonesia are similar. They're similar and different. But one of the big similarities between Australia and Indonesia is in Australia, we have what we call a prevalence rate. It means, what is our rate? We've got a 12.2% of the working population in Australia participate in entrepreneurial activity. So let's get the closest denominator. Only 1 in 10 people is an entrepreneur. So 12.2% of the population. In Indonesia, it's 12.6% of the population. So in other words, Indonesians from that are only slightly more entrepreneurial than Australian entrepreneurs. But the one's 12.2, the other one 12.6, they're very, very similar. Now, here's the thing about gender, ladies and gentlemen, and this is something that I think Abdu and I might just look at, and maybe we can do some kind of research study to further examine this. Globally, the male and female split for entrepreneurship is round about 60-40. So it's 60% dominant by male entrepreneurs globally. That's the general rule of thumb. 60-40 male dominated. In Australia, it's 58% of male entrepreneurs and 42% female entrepreneurs. So that's a higher prevalence of female entrepreneurs. But ladies and gentlemen, in Indonesia, it's about 50-50. It's one of the very, very few countries where sometimes female entrepreneurship is actually a bit stronger than male entrepreneurship. So I don't know what it is. Abdu, you might know already, and some of you listening to you might know already. But why is female entrepreneurship so strong in Indonesia? which is a very good thing. Other countries are trying to get to those levels. But maybe that prevalence in female entrepreneurship in Indonesia is due to government intervention factors. Maybe it's due to cultural factors, socio-economic factors. I don't know. That would make a very good PhD topic to look at that, because it bucks the international trend. That's one thing of entrepreneurship that's immediately comes to mind with me. Another one is we often refer to the prevalence rate of corporate entrepreneurship. That is how entrepreneurial businesses are. And what in Australia, there's a 7.8%. The prevalence for entrepreneurial businesses in Indonesia is 14%. It's nearly double that. So what we are saying, the SMEs, the small to medium enterprises in Indonesia, are significantly entrepreneurial. They don't only run their businesses, but they're looking at high growth. Very interesting stuff. We're nearly getting to the end of it. Let's just look at the indispensable trajectory. If we can just go on to the next slide, please. Excuse me, I'm just have a drink of water. And this is an extra one that I've just brought in. And yeah, we're looking at sustainability. We're looking at empowerment and transformation. We're looking at entrepreneurship being a legitimate discipline in academia. Excuse me. And we're all looking at those sustainable goals worldwide, globally, how important those things are. And we know about these sustainable development goals, how most universities are prescribing to sustainability and green growth, equitable growth, and that type of thing as well. So a very important thing, and that comes from empowering students and scholars in entrepreneurship. If we can just go to the next slide. I'd like to just very, very briefly, if we can just move one slide down onto entrepreneurship education. Here's just an example of a study I did last year. And for those people that are interested, we can collaborate on this one as well. I did a study of entrepreneurship education in Australia. I looked at all 44 universities in Australia, what courses and what programs they do, and highlighted that entrepreneurship education is rather segmented in Australia. Those are a handful of the dominant or prominent universities in Australia that are active in entrepreneurship education. Most of these universities have accelerators. Most of them have a bachelor's or a master's course in entrepreneurship education. And most of them have professors of entrepreneurship. For example, the University of Adelaide actually they have a pro-vice chancellor in entrepreneurship, supporting that entrepreneurial university endeavor. Very prominent to these universities and entrepreneurial universities is knowledge transfer and how important sustainability and how they act on a global platform. So the reason for this is because of that knowledge exchange between Indonesia and Australia with this comprehensive economic partnership agreement, how we can actually do joint research. For example, I've done the study in Australia, how we can implement and expand the same or replicate this study in Indonesia. So if we have any of the entrepreneurship scholars or lecturers or professors there that wish to do some of this research, please just drop me an email. I'd really like to discuss that. So if we can just wrap up and go on to the last slide, please, ladies and gentlemen. And just a wrap up and discussion. And just wrapping up, looking at some of the things I've mentioned already, a little bit of the IACEP agreement. I've mentioned some of this stuff before, and looking how we can possibly do some research around around this forum. And sorry, now that was the penultimate slide. If we can just go on to the final slide, please, which is a wrap up and discussion, which we'll then hand over to Dr. Abdu in a second. So the LBS there, that is the Trobe Business School. That is where I'm housed, so to say. We're one of the leading entrepreneurship facilitators in the country in teaching, research, and engagement in entrepreneurship. LTU is La Trobe University, and we have an accelerator for the good of the entire university and the La Trobe Accelerator. A reminder that entrepreneurship is multidisciplinary. We then look at the University of Bengkulu and entrepreneurship, what you people are doing and how we can possibly open up a lovely international dialogue between ourselves as well. And then obviously the implementation of the Indonesia-Australia Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. And I'll leave you with this thought. You can see on the left-hand side what I've put there. It's your choice as to whether you're going the route of the entrepreneur or the route of the employees. Remember, if you're taking entrepreneurship as a career alternative, it'll be the road less traveled. I'll repeat that. You'll be on the road less traveled. 10 people become employees, only one becomes an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is not that easy. And then the final slide is just a conclusion and a thank you. Again, I'd like to thank the Dean, Dr. Retno, and Dr. Abdu for hosting me, and your university for listening to me for the last half an hour or so. And as I mentioned, this was just a theoretical overview of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship education in this Indonesia-Australia partnership agreement. And Dr. Abdu is now going to enhance a more case study approach and overview of the actual comprehensive economic partnership agreement. I thank you very much. And my apologies for the slide share in the beginning, but it looks like it all worked out in the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Maritz. It's a very amazing presentation about entrepreneurship. Very amazing presentation about entrepreneurship. We learned many things about the. Can you hear me? Can I start? Okay, sorry for the technical things. Thank you for the great presentation. There are some interesting points about entrepreneurship, that entrepreneurship is about creating job, not working with people, and also about exploiting opportunities. Ya. Jadi Profesor Maritz menyampaikan banyak hal terkait dengan entrepreneurship dan ada banyak peluang untuk kerjasama untuk dilakukan antara Indonesia dan Australia, terutama juga di bidang pendidikan, mungkin antara Universitas Bengkulu dan Australia bisa menjalin kerjasama, terutama dengan La Trobe University, mungkin ya, Bu.
Yes, I think it's a good idea. Thank you, Prof. Moritz. It's opened up so many challenges and also possible collaboration in the next time, maybe.
Yes, it's education and research. Okay, now we go to Dr. Abdu. Dr. Abdu is prepared for the presentation. Share screen? Okay, the operator will do the share screen. Pak Abdu, you have 20 minutes for the presentation, and after all the presentation, then we can open for the Q&A session. Ya, para partisipan, Bapak Ibu partisipan, silakan untuk mengetik pertanyaannya di box chat di Zoom control panelnya. Nanti akan dipilih oleh tim panitia untuk ditampilkan dan dibahas. Pada akhir nanti kita akan punya juga sesi pertanyaan. Ya, silakan.
Yeah, I think they also can have the question in Bahasa. Maybe have a problem in English, so just drop in your question in Bahasa is also
yes,
okay.
Sure, yeah, you can ask in Indonesia. It's time for you, Pak Abdu.
Moderate our meeting. Alex, Ibu Yefriza actually graduated from Monash University, and then we may see further and explore possible collaboration in the future. And then, first of all, let me express my appreciation to all of us, especially Ibu Dekan and the lead of members of FAB, Ibu Kajur, Economic Development Department, and even organizer and committee, Ibu Lela, and all the members. And my colleagues in Bengkulu, Faculty of Economic and Business, Universitas Bengkulu, and especially for our students and participants. And my special thanks goes to Professor Alex Merritt that for his willingness to provide some time with us to share his knowledge and expertise, and also possibility for collaboration in the future. Okay, I'd like to tell you that I did some activities with Professor Alex about 10 years ago, and then we published a paper together. So it means that in the future there are more opportunities for us to have more collaboration in various type of possible collaboration. Okay, as explained by Professor Merritt before, that entrepreneurship is not only about the theoretical or conceptual, but it's more also more importantly also about the practice of how to execute the possibility of opportunities. And so that's why in my presentation, I'd like to share with you all a case study on how business opportunity were executed. Okay, and then in the final stage and the Q&R later on, so we may explore more possible collaboration, especially in entrepreneurship education and other form of collaboration. I'm grateful that Ibu Retno has already mentioned quite in detail about the Cepa, that is Indonesian Australia Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. This one next slide actually, please. Yep, that one. Here we go. Yep. This is actually a long bilateral negotiation. It was initiated in 2012 when there was our president was Pak SBY, and then it came into force just recently in the 5th of July 2020, for about just a couple of months ago. So it means that we expect that we could have more information and data about what the impact of the Cepa in last 5 months. But unfortunately, there is no sufficient data that can be used for analysis. And then also as explained by Ibu Retno previously, the clauses of the Cepa included bilateral free trade investment, skill training visa, e-commerce, and intellectual property protection. And then there is no tariff for nearly all Australian product exported to Indonesia, then Indonesian product exported to Australia. And then more interestingly, it is a big chance for investment in Indonesia, in which, because Australian firms would be permitted to hold a majority stake in Indonesia telecommunications, transport, health, and energy firms. And then also Australian universities are permitted to open their Indonesian campuses. And last but not least, the most important aspect of this agreement is the number of work holiday visas issued to Indonesia annually would increase from 1,000 to 5,000 by 2026. Next slide, please. Okay. This is a real example what happened very early stage of this agreement. That is, Monash University established their campus in Indonesia. The mission of the university is to contribute to the further social, economic, and technological development, education, research, and industrial cooperation. Investments in relevant aspects, including individual could be hospital and employment opportunities. I would like to highlight this one, employment opportunities. So it's mean that I hope by having this information, some of our students may think that he or she be interested in to be part of this project in the future. So it means that you need to prepare yourself. And then the implication of this, of what happened about the about the Monash University, establishment of Monash University in Indonesia, it means that Australia is much more better prepared compared to us in Indonesia. And actually, we don't specify a big project for this agreement yet. And then accordingly, this is a challenge for us, how to utilize this agreement. Next. Yeah. So this is what I would like to share with our students, especially of our students, about one important part of the agreement, that is working holidays visa, which will increase from 1,000 to 5,000 by 2026. This is a temporary Australian visa that allows the holder to work and travel. And this is for a period of 12 months, and you can study up to 4 months. And then by working using this visa, there are a lot of experience or testimony telling us about the way the holders earn income from various type of job. And some the incomes actually vary, and some earn even more than 5,000 Australian dollar or 50 juta, 50 juta per bulan. I'll show you the link of the YouTube later on. And then if you do 3 months of specified work to become eligible for second work holiday visa, this also means that you have more opportunity to stay longer in Australia. And then in most cases, some of the working holiday visa holders, after couple or the third year, they apply to be a student. So it means they can get a student visa and they can keep all work, so they can study and earn income to become self-sufficient for study and living costs. So my question is, are you interested in the working holidays visa? That is what actually I'm very, very passionate to share this information to you, because there are not many Indonesian young Indonesian in here to employ or to utilize this working holiday visa. But for people from the youth from the another country, especially India, there are a lot. So that's why I feel this is a very important information that I need to share with you. And hopefully, I would like to see some of you to be here by using this visa. Okay, next, please. This is some testimony about the working holiday visa on YouTube. So it's mean that they can they can earn biar 80 juta per bulan or 7 juta per bulan, and even 20 juta in 1 week. And there are many examples of this. What I'd like to show you in this matter is that if you can think and behave out of the box, you may have a very great experience doing or applying for this kind of visa. Okay, next. All right. So if you are interested into, you must be under 30 years old, but more than or at least 18 years old. Hold a valid passport from an eligible country. So Indonesia is one of the eligible countries. Have proof of English proficiency. It is what I'm happy to participate in this event too, because I hope by having this kind of dialogue, so would accelerate the interest of our students to improve their English proficiency. So according to the recent information I have, that the English proficiency is about 4.5 IELTS score. Meet the education requirement, meet the health requirement, and have sufficient funds to support yourself. This is another interesting thing that I would like to share with you. There are a number of young or the youth in Sumatra Barat applied for this visa, and then they work closely with an organization in order to be able to have a support the funds to support themselves to apply that visa. So it means that you may among you who are interested in to apply for this type of visa, you may collaboratively prepare for this fund support. And then finally, so you can apply it for online at www.imi.gov.au. Then enjoy the working holiday visa journey and prepare more opportunities like a permanent resident. Okay, next. That is one important point about the working holiday visa. Now we start another one is about trading. Part of the Cepa. Yep, next please. So mentioned before by Bu Dekan about the trading between Indonesia and Australia, and also by Alex. So, Professor Maritz. So I would like to inform you that Alex Maritz consists of two names, first name and last name. So we can call Professor Alex Maritz by just saying Alex. So his first name is very common here, so we don't need yet. Okay. And then from this slide, we can see that the blue graph is showing about the total amount of bilateral trade and balance between Australia and Indonesia. And from the brown one, that is it shows the export volume from Indonesia, while the gray one is about our import from Australia. And we can see from 2015 until 2020, the total amount of trade balance tend to decrease, start from 2019. And however, for all years, or for each years, the balance is deficit for Indonesia. This means that we import more than we did export. Okay, so what should we do about this one? There are two possibilities. Is that the first one, we decrease the amount of import and increase the amount of export. Okay, next. Next, please. Yep. So decrease import. This is the business opportunity for substitution products. So it means that we may produce the same or similar product in Indonesia, And then, as you know, that the cost of production in Australia is very expensive. So that's why it is, if we could produce substitution products in Indonesia with competitive price and then with a lower cost, it could be in the future that Australian investor will invest more investment in itself, even for factory to establish factories in Indonesia. And then it means that it would increase the future export to Australia. Then another important aspect of IACPA is that Indonesia and Australia will work together to produce various type of possible products and sell them into neighbors country. So it means that Indonesia and Australia work together in producing products. Okay, next. Next, please. Yep. So let's say if we are going to export more products to Australia, so we should know about Australia. What is Australia? Australia is a continent, as you know that, and it consists of 5 states atau 5 provinsi. GDP of Australia is approximately 1434 billion US dollar. While the population is just 25 million, it's only 10% of the total amount of population in our country, in Indonesia. And then the GDP per capita is about 57,000 US dollar. This means that approximately 900,000 dollar. 900 million Indonesian rupiah for GDP per capita, while in Indonesia is about only 59. So it means that our GDP per capita compared to Australia is just less than 10%. 10% of the GDP per capita in Australia. Well, the implication is just simple that we don't need to be unhappy because of our lower income per capita. However, we can see that is a very strong opportunities to export more to Australia because Australia has a very strong purchasing power. However, we should have a very good quality products to export to Australia. Okay, next. So what products to export to Australia? I understand that my time is very limited right now. So we can see from here, there are the top 5 of export product to Australia right now is including wood and wood products, electronical machinery, just beyond the mineral fuels and oils, articles of iron and steel, machinery, mechanical appliance, and then potential product as according to KJRI in 2020, I involved in some activities in here. This include furniture and wood products, food and seafood, chocolate and coconut, CPU, jewelry, clothes, textile, drinks, coffee, tea, footwear, shoes and bags. Then most interestingly, in Australia, we can find Indomie easily, very easy. So if you are hungry, we can find out some Indomie in big supermarket in Australia. So it means that Australia has a good place that we can export more product. Okay, next. The next slide, please. And still, in terms of the practice of entrepreneurship, so we still have the question how to export product to Australia. So this means that there is a need of international entrepreneurs collaboration. That is what Professor Myrit said before. There are many possibilities that collaboration can be made, including international entrepreneurs collaboration, and find right business partner. So it means that also we can also use or utilize relationship with diaspora, or we call it empowering relationship with diaspora. And then we need to specify the products and feasibility analysis, participate in various government programs, including Indonesian Trade Promotion Center, and prepare products that satisfy the Australian regulation. And okay, next. Australia is a very regulated country, so it's very strict in terms of import. However, that's good for us. But good for us, so we can provide or produce better product, and then we can compete with other product from other countries. And then and some example of very strict regulation, including nutrition facts, fabricated care, allergen and labeling, safe lives, and packaging. And we may discuss this more in detail about this one later on, because, yep, okay, next, please. Okay, I would like to, regarding the regulation, I would like to share you a story. Someone came from Indonesia, and then he brought banana, pisang sale, and then he didn't know that he cannot bring the pisang sale to Australia through the custom, and then he was fined. Didenda about $200. $200, I mean 2 juta, just because of the pisang. So it means that we do need to understand regulation of Australia. Okay, this is a case study, what we discussed before, how entrepreneurship concept can be executed in terms of practice. Okay, that is executing business opportunities by implementation of entrepreneurship concepts. So there is a question for this case study is you see from the Cepa, and how did you execute the opportunities? Implementation of entrepreneurship concept. So respondents were former students of entrepreneurship LCD. Next. Okay, initially, their business is about the tourism services. The reason for doing this business is because there is a gap between the gap. Oh, is that all right? Hello? Yeah. Can you hear me? Anyone? Okay. The gap in which that there was no service, halal services, halal tourism services at the time, and they see this as a very good business opportunity, and they serve especially tourists from Indonesia. And then it went, this business went very good and getting bigger and bigger. However, due to the COVID-19 outbreak, the business stopped. Okay, next. Despite the business stop, they never stop thinking what other business which were possible to be executed. And then once they hear about the Cepa, in which there is no or zero tariff for Indonesian product, and they examine a potential opportunities from this regulation, this Cepa agreement, and then they say that they saw that there was a potential market for Indonesian popular brands of clothes, and after that they built networks and collaboration between them and some people in Indonesia, and especially for the supplier of Indonesian popular products. including Ria Miranda, Sukma, Erna Mutiara. I believe that you, especially ladies and girls, knew about this. And next. And also this interesting thing that is they try to produce substitute product from China. As you can see here, there are a unique they call it a souvenir t-shirts. These t-shirts were produced in Indonesia and they imported to Australia. This is the way they try to execute or see the business opportunity based on the Cepa agreement. And next. Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. Just move a little bit backward. To make it short, I sent Maseno a promotion video from this company. Would you like to show it for us? So it's also learn how they apply the concept of entrepreneurship properly, start from the beginning until the end. Yeah. Where's the video?
Pak Abdul, sorry, just for reminding that our time is, it's time for Q&A session now. Is it okay if we put the video after this session? Pak Abdul, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we can.
Okay, thank you, Pak Abdul. Now we go ahead and take time for questions. Yeah, we have so many questions now. Bu Retno, maybe you want to have?
Yeah, there is several questions there from the participant. Very enthusiastic. Give me the first question. There are so many questions. One is from Ferdi Gary. Is for Prof. Alec, and the question is, does this project can benefit from e-commerce site, for example, like a free delivery and tax from Australia to Indonesia? This is the question. Maybe Prof. Alec will comment on this on the e-commerce site.
Because we've seen an exploitation and a huge increase in e-commerce, often in online sales. You just look at the very big online sales businesses that really morphed during the COVID-19 period, and how it actually resulted in a lot of out-of-stock situations from a lot of these e-commerce sites. Things such as Amazon worldwide became one of the biggest businesses in the world because of consumers could not go shopping to get the goods. It also then morphed a lot of businesses in the delivery of these goods and services from the e-commerce sites. Don't forget, a lot of this was available before COVID. It's just that a lot of businesses that could not operate and that were closed due to COVID now relied on e-commerce sites. You can think of some of the different commodities that we were getting from companies, and that pet food, for example. One would never have thought that you would buy pet food from an online site, and that became a prominent thing. For example, sanitizers, health equipment, hygiene equipment, sports equipment, fitness equipment, all those things. We look at technology things. One that I know, for example, my wife wanted to buy a big screen. Her laptop screen wasn't big enough, that she could not get a screen anywhere in Australia. They were all sold out, and she had to go and source these overseas. But the role of entrepreneurship is about sustainability, as how we can make this better and so on. And we use many models and ways to minimize the risk. One of the questions I was asked in the forum here was, with all this increase in online sales, what do we do about people going bankrupt and about that risk? Well, as I said to you before, entrepreneurship is not about just increasing sales and so on. It's by taking calculated risks. And in entrepreneurship, we deliver many of these lean startup ways of minimizing risk. Because don't forget, entrepreneurship is often about going into untested waters, so to say. So the risks are high, but it's about taking calculated risks. So I hope I've answered that question with a bit of that insight.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Moritz. I think it's a great opportunity and chance for having the e-commerce booming this era because of blessing in disguise on the pandemic. I think that maybe next you.
Okay, next questions from Bella to Mr. Abdu. So if I became an entrepreneur and there's an opportunity that is quite good but don't know the risk, will I take it without considering the risk, or we have to consider the risk? That for you, Pak Abdu.
Thank you, Bunya, and the question. So the answer, I just would like to give a very short answer. The voice. Yes. One possible thing that you can do immediately for such for the issue that currently you are experiencing is just find out a book, call it feasibility study atau buku studi kelayakan. And it helps you how to prepare or how to analyze the possibility of the business that currently you are thinking. Clear?
Okay. Thank you, Pak Abdu. Now next question from Dede Wahyu to Professor Alex. What is the specific strategy to blow up the entrepreneur spirit of students? And it's not just temporary, but it can be sustainable entrepreneur spirit. Very hard question and very good question, actually. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, Prof. Moritz, you can give comments for that question.
Very much, yeah. There isn't just one answer for that, but the immediate thing that comes to mind is what we do in entrepreneurship education is first of all, we teach people intentionality. We provide a background of entrepreneurship, what entrepreneurship is, what it isn't, and we get the interest in entrepreneurship. A lot of people aren't aware that entrepreneurship is an alternative to getting paid employment. Remember, and we've repeated it a few times, entrepreneurship is about creating employment. Because if you start a new business, it's very likely that you are going to employ a few people. Okay? And that's about creating employment. We teach you the tools to minimize the risk. Yes, the majority of businesses that start do fail. But the reasons for that fail is we learn from other entrepreneurs. What did they do? What did they do that they did well? And what did they do maybe they didn't do so well? So in other words, in entrepreneurship, we have a thing called learning from failure. In entrepreneurship, failure is okay. A lot of people have this notion that failure is a bad thing. As long as we learn from failure, it's fine. We do a thing called the lean startup. We try get people to start a business as soon as possible. We don't do elaborate business plans. That's very old-fashioned. We do business models. So with the lean startup, we iterate. We go out there and we continuously improve. And we learn as we go. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a fantastic way of doing things. Instead of these elaborate plans that take years and years and years, that is really old school. New school way of doing things is go out there, iterate. We call this build, measure, learn. Build, measure, learn. It's the build, measure, learn loop. That as we're going, we go with a prototype, or what we call in entrepreneurship. Some of you may have heard of the MVP, the minimum viable product. Take something that will just interest people and build up on that so that you can get your first customer, second customer, and build that way as well.
Thank you, Prof. Maritz. It's very good explanation. So don't be afraid to be failure. You're learning from the failure.
Yes, I think we like to underline what Prof. Moritz said. As long as you learn from the failure, it's okay. So you have to go and move forward on that.
Yes, don't be afraid. Just start the business. Okay, we still have another question from Harry Lee to Mr. Abdul. This question is through YouTube. Standard of living in Australia is so high. 5 years ago, it's about 60 million rupiah. With opportunity working holiday visa to get about 80 billion rupiah. Is that still worth it, Pak Abdul?
Yep. Yeah, this very interesting questions. But according to the experience gained by number of the visa holders, they did earn income as higher as 80 million, and then still worthwhile at this stage.
Thank you. Pak Abdul, maybe you're too close to a microphone.
The speaker.
The speaker, yeah. Okay, thank you. I think Bu Reno have a question.
It's really a good chance to have Prof. Moritz in this dialogue and about the cooperation, about the research, about the academic engagement on the entrepreneurship. Because in our faculty, and also not only the faculty and the university, is one required class which is on entrepreneur. So everybody, every student have to have this entrepreneurship first. The second one, I think I like to mention in between this faculty, economic and business, the University of Bengkulu.
Yes.
This time, from the dean, elected dean, and all of the department head, all is women.
Yes,
so all is women. So if we have a meeting, mostly it's women here. So when you say like 50-50 gender in the work, is here mostly by women. So women and entrepreneur maybe is a good combination.
Yeah.
So I think I would like to ask more specific maybe what we can do to start in one joint research or in one of the collaboration of the class, something like that. Maybe Prof. Moritz would like to comment on this. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dean, for that. And that's very promising. But you know, one of the things that we can immediately do is, why don't we have, let's just say when we have classes, that we do Zoom classes and with your professors there in Indonesia and with our professors here, and we can have a joint class between the Australian students and the Indonesian students. And never mind the collaboration between the professors, the collaboration between the students, ready to make it a rich class. And the students, we can do a workshop where the students could come up with a business idea in Indonesia, the students can come up with a business idea in Australia, and we see how we can import and export those. So in other words, what can we do about bringing some Australian products to Indonesia, and what can we do about bringing some Indonesian products and services to Australia? And the students can compare, and it can be a very rich dialogue between the students to do that. The other thing is, very importantly, is between the scholars, between the professors and between the lecturers and between the faculty members, between our universities, we can do a lot of collaboration there. Like I said to you, it would be lovely to do some collaborative research on this prevalence rate of female entrepreneurship in Indonesia. We can maybe even have a joint PhD students doing something like that, or joint masters by research students doing, where I would be the professor from Australia, Dr. Abdu can be the professor from linking Australia and Indonesia, and one of the professors from Indonesia as well. And we can supervise and do something like that as well. We can do that immediately in the short term.
It's excellent, great. Take this as a next program.
Yes.
Our next year program. This is the end of year, and it's great. We end the year by a possibility of collaboration.
Yeah.
I think next year will be the program.
That's very amazing, Professor Merits. Yeah, that's very great opportunity for us, and we all looking forward to
That's
do
right.
that. Yeah.
That's right. We're looking forward for that. We will make a program so this will be happen.
Yeah, Zoom class is maybe the
Yes,
the first
it's
one.
very,
That's
very possible,
Yeah.
and it's exchanging between student, Indonesian student and student overseas and the Australia. They can exchange ideas, and it's a good idea. So they can learn from there, right?
Of course, yes.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay.
Maybe this is the last question from Septa Aji. The last question to Mr. Abdu. Pak Abdu, what's the government can do for supporting SME to fulfill the IACPA requirement?
Yes, it's very good questions, and then that is what I have been thinking much about. Actually, what actually government can support our small enterprises, especially with the startup. And there was an integrated concept that we can assist them in order to be able to produce high quality products and then could export to Australia. The involvement of the government, as this state, is to me is very, very important, because as most new enterprises cannot survive by itself and then cannot grow without any support from the others. And then currently there have been a number of support provided by the government, and the most importantly, in the future, we need to specify more based on, I need to underline it, more support based on the needs of the small enterprises, not based on the policymaker made. So this is the answer. So the next stage means that we need to investigate what actually really needs by the small enterprises. And I'd like to tell you that the business that I showed you before, they get 3 grants from the government, the value of 30,000 Australian dollar in order to be able to run that business. So it means that support not only about they need a number of support, including capital as well as the mentoring, and they got the mentoring services too from the Australia government.
Okay, thank you, Pak Abdul. Hopefully that answered the question asked by Aji. Okay.
Yes.
I think we have still many questions, but our time is almost
That's right.
finished. Yeah, maybe the question we can send through email to Pak Abdul and Prof. Maritz.
Collect the question and
Yes.
then maybe we can discuss
Yeah.
on that. But before we end, maybe concluding remarks from Prof. Maritz.
Yeah, sure. Prof. Maris and Pak Abdul, please give the concluding remarks before we finish the session. Maybe start with Prof. Maris first.
Yes.
Hope I've instilled the entrepreneurship spirit into everybody. Just thank you to the Dean. Thank you to Abdul for getting things going, and to let everybody know this collaboration isn't going to happen, it's already happening. And thank you to inviting me on this. I'd love to come meet all of you sometime as well. And let the entrepreneurship spirit be alive in everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Pak Abdul, concluding remarks from you.
To share my opinion with, especially for our students, success does not come by itself, but success is when preparation meet the right opportunities. So it also means that we need to prepare ourselves and then try to find out the best opportunities that we can do. And then I believe that in the future, there will be a big collaboration between us with Professor Alex Maritz. And I knew him for already a decade, and he is a very helpful and very nice guy. And as you can see, he is now with us, providing excellent expertise and experience with us. And we look forward for having him again in our future events. Thank you very much, Ibu Dekan, Ibu Yepi, and the team.
Our pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we would like to thank you for our two amazing speakers. We really enjoyed the presentation, and I hope all the participants also enjoyed the presentation from our speakers and the discussion. Yeah.
Yes, and the participant is more than 200. It's
Wow.
close to, what is it, 230 something?
Yeah, maybe this is for Professor Marit's information that we have students, lecturers, government employees, yeah,
And other participants.
Yeah, and the business
business people
yeah.
is also here. So many people in here, very enthusiastic. Maybe next time we have to do the same for
yeah.
the second round and
Maybe we can visit Professor Alex in Melbourne. Yeah, I see that
after the COVID.
after COVID, I see that he sit next to the lake, beautiful lake. Where is it, Professor Maritz? The lake behind you.
Office. we've got a moat, a river that goes around the university.
It's Latrobe University. You are in the university now.
No, I'm at home now, but that is a picture of our university campus.
Okay, yeah. We want to visit you maybe next time to
Yes.
Australia.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
yep.
possible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe not in summertime. It's very hot there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
Okay, before we finish, we want to invite all the committees to come up here to the stage.
Yes.
Please, Dr. Armeli, Dr. Lela Rospida, Miss Ratu Eva, Miss Barika. We want to introduce you to all the committees who already
Yes.
work very hard.
And it's all women. Our
And
staff,
all women.
yeah, lecturers,
Yes.
all mostly women.
All women.
Because of their hard work, so this is possible.
because we have to stay distance. Use your mask. Okay. Yes, this is all with red and white. Red and white is ready for the holiday spirit and looking forward for the next year. This is all the team committee which makes this happen.
Yeah, and thank you also for all participants. You are amazing participants. We hope to see you again next year with the next topic.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Goodbye, everyone. Thank
Bye,
you. Bye.
Professor Alex, Pak Abdul, all the participants. Thank you very much. Okay, okay. High five.
Yes. Yes. Is there any music or something?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay. Yeah. Have a great, what is it, holidays in next several weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. Sudah tutup kan?